I woke up in my sister's body on Christmas morning. Her perfect life a noose around my neck. And the first thing I did was smash her heirloom ornaments with a fireplace poker, because if they thought they could steal my skin and bury me alive in hers, they were about to learn what a real family heirloom looks like: revenge, wrapped in barbed wire. The text from my mother hit like a gut punch. "Zoe, we've covered your debts one last time. $52,000 wired by end of day. Or the lawyers get the photos." Photos? Of me. The real me. Framed for embezzlement I never touched. All while my family partied in the Hamptons without a backward glance. But here's the controversial part that keeps therapists up at night. I didn't cry. I laughed. Because in that moment, staring into Victoria's flawless mirror reflection, my new prison, I realized the swap wasn't a curse. It was my goddamn Christmas miracle. And I was going to mail them back something far worse than money: their own rotting secrets, gift-wrapped in federal indictments. You ever wonder what it feels like to lose everything in one breath? Not the slow bleed of a bad breakup or a job firing. I'm talking the kind of loss that rewires your soul, leaves you gasping in a stranger's skin. Mine started 3 weeks before that cursed Christmas, back in late November, when the air in New York City bit like regret and the sidewalks were slick with unfulfilled promises. My name's Zoe Harlan. Or it was, until the world decided otherwise. I grew up in the shadow of the Harlan Empire, old money mixed with new tech, the kind that buys senators and buries scandals. Dad built Harlan Dynamics, a cybersecurity firm that's basically the digital moat around half of Wall Street. Mom? She's the socialite surgeon, slicing faces by day and egos by night at galas. And then there's Victoria, my big sister by 2 years, the golden child who could do no wrong.
Me?
I was the black sheep. The artist who dropped out of Yale to paint murals in Brooklyn lofts and bartend at dive bars that smelled like spilled dreams and cheap whiskey. They tolerated me. Sure, like a quirky heirloom you dust off for holidays but never actually use. The Betrayal hit on Thanksgiving. We'd gathered at the family brownstone on the Upper East Side, all crystal goblets and forced laughter. Victoria was fresh off closing a deal at Harlan Dynamics, something about a quantum encryption patent that made her the next tech darling. Dad beamed like she'd invented fire. Mom fussed over her hair, extensions gleaming under the chandelier. I showed up late, pain under my nails from a commission, clutching a bottle of $2 Chuck like it was vintage Bordeaux.
Zoe.
Darling, Mom said, air kissing my cheek without touching it, you look bohemian. As always. Victoria smirked over her flute of Veuve. Still slinging drinks?
God. Jo.
When are you gonna grow up? I bit my tongue. Family tradition. Endure the jabs. Smile through the subtext. Dinner dragged, turkey dry as Dad's boardroom speeches. Conversation circling back to Victoria's impending IPO. Harlan Dynamics was going public. Billions on the line. My contribution? A toast that fell flat. To family, I said. They clinked glasses politely, eyes already glazing over. That night, after pie and passive aggression, Victoria pulled me aside in the library. Leather-bound books that no one read. A fire crackling like suppressed rage. "Zoe," she said, voice low and urgent. "I need your help."
It's
complicated. Complicated. That's code for, I'm in deep shit. And you're my escape hatch. She confessed it in whispers. The patent wasn't hers. She'd stolen the core algorithm from a whistleblower engineer, a guy named Marcus Hale, who'd vanished after threatening to sue. Victoria had buried him, figuratively, with NDAs and payoffs. But Marcus had dirt, emails proving she'd siphoned funds to hush him up. Nearly $2 million from Harlan's slush accounts. The board was sniffing around, and if it blew, the IPO tanked. The family legacy?
Ash.
I need an alibi, she said. Someone to take the fall for the smaller stuff, the expense reports, the dummy transactions. It'll look like a low-level hack, not executive fraud. My stomach twisted.
Vic.
That's insane. That's prison. Her eyes hardened. The sister I'd idolized since we built forts in the Hamptons shrinking into something feral. Please.
Joe.
For the family. Dad's retiring next year. This saves everything. I should have walked. But blood's thicker than ink.
Right?
I signed the dummy docs, posed for the fabricated emails. It was supposed to be a scapegoat play, me as the disgruntled outsider. A minor leak to distract from the real rot. They promised it'd never stick. Lawyers would bury it. I was the shield, not the sacrifice.
Lies.
All of it. The swap happened a week later. The Saturday after Black Friday madness. I'd crashed at the Brownstone, nursing a hangover from too many shots at my bar gig. Victoria had flown in from a Silicon Alley conference, buzzing about neural interfaces, Harlan's pet project. Some experimental body swap tech for empathy training in executives. Bullshit corporate wellness. Or so I thought. She cornered me in the basement lab, a sterile white room humming with servers and that ozone smell of innovation gone wrong. Trust me, she said, holding up two sleek helmets wired to a console. It's harmless. Just a quick sim too. Understand each other better. I laughed it off. Sister's night.
Right?
Pop on the gear. Sync brains for a virtual swap. Walk in each other's shoes for laughs. But as the world blurred, static crackling in my ears, I felt it, not a sim, but a tear. Reality ripping at the seams. Her hand on the override switch, eyes cold as the code scrolling by. When I came to, I was staring at my own face, disheveled hair, chipped nail polish, gazing back from the mirror across the room.
No.
I was in Victoria's body.
Tall.
Lithe. With that effortless poise and the faint scent of Chanel No. 5 clinging to her silk blouse. My old body slumped in the chair opposite, Victoria's consciousness piloting it like a stolen car. What the fuck? Vic. My voice, her voice, came out smooth, commanding. Panic clawed at my throat. She, in my skin, grinned, a twisted parody of my smirk. Sorry.
Sis.
Necessary. The tech's real. It's beta for deep immersion. But this is perfect cover. You and my body, you'll confess to the fraud. Low profile. Tearful plea deal. I'll vanish into your life. The broke artist no one suspects. By New Year's, it's over. Families saved. Betrayal doesn't hit like a slap. It seeps. Cold and insidious. She'd planned it all. The confession scripted. Lawyers briefed. My confession from her body would seal it, irrefutable, biometric locked. And me, trapped in her shell, I'd rot in a plea bargain while she danced off my debts in my anonymity. I lunged, but she was faster, my own reflexes betraying me. She jabbed a syringe into her arm. Sedative haze pulled me under as she whispered, "Merry Christmas."
Zoe.
Try not to fuck up my life. I woke in her penthouse on 5th Avenue. Sheets Egyptian cotton and view endless city lights. Her phone, buzzed with alerts, board meetings, IPO deadlines. And an email from Mom. Victoria, darling, Zoe's being difficult again. Excluded from Christmas this year, too unstable after her issues. Handle the family trust withdrawal quietly. Issues. That's what they called it when I called out their neglect. The swap was the final knife twist, not just stealing my life, but erasing me from it. Days blurred into a fever dream. I navigated her world on autopilot, high-stakes calls where I bullshitted algorithms I'd only read about in Wired. Schmoozing VCs at cocktail hours with a smile that felt like acid on my teeth.
Inside,
I was screaming. My real body, Victoria puppeteering it, posted artsy Instagram stories from my Brooklyn walk-up. All thrift store vibes and finding myself captions. She was living my freedom while chaining me to her throne. The secret nod, Marcus Hale, wasn't just vanished. I dug into her encrypted files that first night, heart pounding as I cracked her laptop with a brute force script I'd learned from a hacker ex. He wasn't dead. Harlan had him in a black site facility upstate, pumped full of experimental neural blockers to reprogram his testimony. The swap tech? It was his invention, twisted from empathy tool to identity thief. Victoria hadn't just stolen code, she'd stolen souls. And the crime I bore? Those dummy transactions weren't minor. They'd funneled money to offshore accounts for Dad's mistresses, Mom's clinic bribes. I was the fall guy for generational rot, a Harlan tradition. By mid-December, rage crystallized. Controversial decision number 1. I didn't reach out to authorities. Not yet. Instead, I leaned in. I became Victoria, better than her. I seduced her assistant into spilling passwords, charmed a board member over oysters at Le Bernardin into revealing the IPO's weak spots. Power tasted like bourbon, sharp, intoxicating. But every mirror was a reminder, those green eyes weren't mine. That reflection a thief's mask. Christmas Eve loomed. The family jet whisked Victoria to the Hamptons estate, a sprawling modernist fortress on Georgica Pond. Snow dusted the dunes, lights twinkling like false stars. I arrived in her chauffeured Bentley, gift bag in hand, nothing for them, everything for me. The exclusion text came at touchdown, Mom's curt missive, followed by the bill. $52,000. Itemized. My share of family expenses, tuition I never used, therapy sessions for my instability, even the goddamn Thanksgiving catering I'd choked down. Pay up or we release the evidence, it read. Evidence of my fabricated fraud, twisted to look like I'd bled the company dry. They'd excluded the real Zoe from Christmas, written me off as the family junkie.
now.
In Victoria's skin, I was invited as her. The irony burned sweeter than eggnog. Dinner was a minefield. Dad, at the head, carving roast beef with surgical precision. Mom fluttering about, diamonds catching firelight. Victoria, in my body, sat across, picking at her plate, eyes darting like a cornered rat. She dyed my hair blonde, added tattoos, fake ones, to sell the reborn artist bit. Pathetic. To family, Dad toasted. Glasses clinked. I smiled, Victoria's megawatt beam, and said, Here, here. To secrets that bind us. Victoria's fork froze. Mom prattled on about charity balls. I waited, tension coiling like a spring. Then, casual as pie. Oh, and Zoe, real Zoe, sent her regrets. But she did wire the money. All $52,000. With interest.
Lies.
Of course. But it landed. Victoria paled under my old freckles. Dad's brow furrowed.
That's
generous. After everything? Redemption arc, I quipped, swirling my wine. She's full of surprises. The table hummed with unease. Post-dinner, as they retreated to brandy and board games, I cornered Victoria in the solarium. Glass walls fogged with breath. Stars mocking us overhead. You bitch, she hissed in my voice. What are you doing? Living your life, I replied, her tone velvet over steel. And unearthing your grave. Marcus Hale? He's talking.
to me.
Her eyes widened. My eyes. Wide with terror. You can't. I can. And I will. Unless you swap us back.
Now.
She laughed.
Brittle.
Too late. The text one way, without the lab. And even if the confession's filed. You're me now. Rage surged. Controversial decision, too. I grabbed her, my own wrist, hard enough to bruise. Then you're Zoe. And Zoe's about to burn it all down. She wrenched free, fleeing to the guest wing. I stood there, pulse thundering, the weight of her power settling like snow, beautiful, suffocating. That night, alone in her childhood room, posters of Feynman swapped for stock tickers, I plotted. The revenge wasn't destruction, it was inversion. Make them pay not with fire, but with mirrors. Show them the monsters they'd bred. By dawn, Christmas Day, the first gift was sent, an anonymous tip to the S, laced with Marcus's recovered files. Not enough to topple, but enough to rattle. Harlan stock dipped 2% before brunch. They never knew. Not yet. Christmas morning broke gray and unrelenting, the kind of Hamptons dawn that promises renewal but delivers only hangovers and hollow cheer. I slipped from the estate before the mimosas flowed. Citing a crisis call from Tokyo investors, bullshit. But Victoria's world ran on it. The chopper back to the city was my confessional, rotors chopping air like the lies I'd soon unleash. In her penthouse, I shed the holiday facade. First order. Access the black site feeds. Harlan Dynamics had a shadow server, buried in the cloud like a digital grave. Using Victoria's biometrics, my new fingerprints, her retinal scan, I dove in. Marcus Hale's file flickered to life, grainy feeds from a cell in the Adirondacks, all concrete and fluorescent hum. He looked hollowed out. 40-something frames slumped on a cot, eyes darting like a lab rat's. Victoria? His voice crackled through the speakers when I patched an audio. That you? Come to finish the job. It's me, I said, her timbre steady. But not her. Marcus. Listen, I'm Zoe. The sister. The one they framed. Silence. Then a rasp of disbelief. The fuck? Prove it. I rattled off details only Zoe would know. The scar on his left knuckles from a childhood bike wreck. He'd mentioned it once in a drunken rant at a company mixer I'd crashed. He bought it. Jesus, he muttered. The swap. It's real. She tested it on you. More than tested. She hijacked my life. I fed him the play, how she'd puppeteer my body into obscurity while I confessed in hers. But I'm flipping the script. You testify, the real story, and we bury the Harlans. He laughed. Bitter. Testify? To what? Ghosts? They've got me on psychotropics. No jury buys a body swap conspiracy. Controversial decision 3. Leverage the unethical. Then we fake it better. I get you out. Harlan transport logs. I hack M from here. You go public as Victoria's victim. Not mine. The world eats scandal like this. Risky as hell. Kidnapping a whistleblower? That's Fed time. But justice in America isn't clean. It's a street fight with lawyers. Marcus agreed. Desperation his North Star. The extraction was surgical. That afternoon, posing as Victoria on a site visit, I flew upstate in the company Gulfstream. Guards nodded. Her face was their god. Inside the facility, a squat bunker masked as a data center. I palmed a keycard and dosed the perimeter cams with a loop from her toolkit. Marcus emerged blinking into sunlight, bundled in a Harlan parka too big for his frame. We ditched the chopper for a rental SUV, heading west on I-87 toward Albany. He chain-smoked menthols, windows cracked against the December chill. Why? He asked, voice raw. Why risk it for a guy you don't know? Family, I said, gripping the wheel. They took mine. This is payback. He nodded, exhaling smoke like ghosts. Over diner coffee and a truck stop haze, greasy hash browns and fluorescent buzz, he spilled the full rot. Victoria hadn't just stolen his patent, she'd weaponized it. The swap tech was meant for therapy, PTSD, vets walking in peace. Not war. But Harlan twisted it for espionage. CEOs infiltrating rivals. Politicians dodging assassins by proxy bodies. The secret? Dad greenlit human trials off books, using undocumented migrants as guinea pigs. Dozens vanished into empathy sessions, souls scrambled, bodies discarded in potter's fields. And you, I pressed. I built the failsafe. A neural anchor to reverse swaps. Victoria killed it literally. Overwrote the code. Now it's permanent unless we rebuild. My blood ran cold.
Permanent.
I'd never get my skin back. But anger forged resolve. Then we rebuild. And we start with her. Back in the city that night, Marcus holed up in a no-questions flop house in Hell's Kitchen, courtesy of her black Amex. I hit the lab under cover of darkness. Harlan's R&D wing a ghost town post-holidays. Servers hummed like conspirators as I pieced the anchor code from backups, fingers flying on her ergonomic keyboard. Dawn found me wired on Red Bull, prototype helmet humming on the bench. The call came at 7 a.m. Mom. Voice iced martini. Victoria.
The stock dip.
SEC inquiries. What the hell is happening? Containment, I replied, cool as her Botox. I'll handle it. You'd better. And that $52,000 from Zoe?
Bounced.
She's cut off. Permanently. The bill. Symbolic chains. I hung up. Furia Livewire. Time to send my reply. Victoria, in my body, had gone radio silent, holed up in my old loft, posting healing vibes to deflect. But I knew her tells. Late-night DoorDash for Ty. The comfort food she hated admitting to. I showed unannounced. Key still under the mat, sister's trust. Ironic now. She opened the door in my ratty robe, eyes bloodshot. Zoe, Victoria, whatever. Get out. I pushed past, her lithe frame no match for my borrowed strength. We're swapping back. Tonight. She backed into the living room, canvases leaning like accusations. Impossible. I told you. Liar. I held up the drive. Anchor code. Marcus sends his regards. Her face crumpled. My face. Vulnerable in a way hers never was.
Please.
I did it for us. For Dad. The family's everything. Family? I laughed, echoing her earlier venom. You stole my life for a legacy built on bones. Tears, my tears, streaked her cheeks. You were always the weak one. The dropout. I made you useful. Controversial decision for Mercy's edge. I could force the swap. Pin her down. Wire the helmets I'd smuggled in a duffel. But I hesitated. In her eyes, I saw the girl who'd shared secrets under sheets. Not the monster. Was this revenge or erasure? Last chance, I said.
Confess. To them.
To the world. She lunged, not for the door, but the phone. Dialing 911, screaming intruder in my voice. Betrayal's echo. I knocked it away, glass shattering like trust. The helmets went on in a frenzy, wires tangling, her screams muffled by the hum. Sync initiated. The world dissolved again, static pulling like undertow. I woke in my body short, scarred.
Me.
She stirred in hers,
Gasping.
relief flooded, then dread. Sirens wailed distant, her call answered. Run, she croaked, Victoria's poise cracking. They'll believe her me over you. No time for gloating. I bolted, grabbing the drive, melting into Brooklyn's pre-dawn fog. My loft, hers now, echoed empty as I hit the streets. Burner phone buzzing, Marcus. SEC's biting. Press conference tomorrow. Yes, I texted. And one more gift for Christmas. The family brunch was in full swing when it dropped. A leaked video. Anonymous to TMZ. Victoria Harlan. Mid-toast at the estate. Glitching. My face superimposed. Confessing in a deepfake so seamless it fooled facial rec. I stole it all, the avatar Zoe said. The patent, the funds. Harlan's rotten core. Panic text flew. Dad's, what is this? Mom's, Victoria. Fix it. Victoria herself. Zoe, you bitch. I didn't reply. Instead, from a cyber cafe in Queens, I wired the $52,000, not from her accounts, but rerouted from Harlan's slush fund, laundered through crypto. Receipt. Merry Christmas. Consider it my final gift. Love. Zoe. The stock plummeted 15%. Protests brewed outside Harlan HQ, body swap scandal trending. Activists chaining to doors. Marcus went live on CNN, gaunt but fierce, spilling the trials. Feds raided the black site by noon. But the tension coiled tighter. Victoria wasn't done. That evening, as I hid in a motel off the turnpike, neon sign flickering vacancy like a bad omen, she struck back. A deep fake of her own, me. Ranting in a psych ward clip. Admitting to hacking the family for artistic revenge. Plausible deniability. The unstable sister. Unraveling. Cops knocked at dawn. Zoe Harlan, we need to talk. I slipped the back window. Heart slamming. The chase was on, me against the machine I'd been born into. Power shifted, but the noose tightened. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon through mirrors. New Year's Eve found me a ghost in my own city. Holed up in a Jersey safe house Marcus had scraped together with old contacts, a dingy walk-up smelling of takeout and desperation. Windows taped against the cold. The world outside burned. Harlan Dynamics IPO postponed indefinitely. Dad grilled on Capitol Hill. Mom's clinic shuttered under FDA probes. Victoria? She'd lawyered up, painting me as the vengeful psycho who'd impersonated her in a delusional spiral. The deepfakes flew like confetti, me snarling threats. Her tearful victim. But I had the anchor. The real one. Tucked in a Faraday pouch. Its code a ticking bomb. One sync. And I could prove it. Swap live on camera. Shatter the illusion. Controversial Decision 5. Go nuclear. Not just expose, obliterate. Leak the full trials footage, migrant screams digitized into eternity. Make the Harlan symbols of American excess, tech bros playing God while the invisible paid. Marcus paced the linoleum, nursing black coffee. This ends bad.
Zoe.
They don't lose quiet. Assassins. Smears, hell. Swaps. He wasn't wrong. That morning's post screamed heiress horror, body-snatching sister saga. Pundits debated on Fox, entitled Millennial Meltdown versus MSNBC's Corporate Frankenstein. Social media? A circus. Harlan swap memes of me as a cackling witch. Victoria as innocent lamb. The controversy fueled it. Was I hero or harpy? Victim or villain? Comments tore me open. Finally. A rich girl gets what's coming, clashing with lock her up, fake news terrorists. I didn't care. Resolution hardened like frost. We go live. Midnight. Times Square. The plan was audacious. Hack the ball drop feed. Beam the truth global. Marcus's hacker pals, shadowy types from the dark web, smuggled gear across the river. Neural helmets. Rigged to a drone swarm for aerial sync. I'd initiate the swap mid-broadcast. Victoria compelled remotely via a virus in her phone. The world watches as bodies flicker. Truths unspool. Getting to her was the gauntlet. She was bunker-ed at the brownstone. Swatch shadows on the stoop. Paparazzi vultures circling. I went in disguised. Hoodie. My old face scrubbed clean, through the service alley. A ghost in familiar halls. The lab waited. Unchanged. Servers whispering like old friends. She was there. Alone. Nursing scotch in a lab coat. Our eyes met. Hers in my stolen skin. Haunted. Zoe, she breathed. End this. Confess, I countered. Helmets in hand. On air. With me. Her laugh cracked. And what? Ruined Dad?
He's dying.
You know. Cancer. This was for him, for us. The twist hit like vertigo. Dying? Lies or truth? I flashed to memories. Dad's cough at Thanksgiving. Dismissed as allergies. If real. My revenge was euthanasia. Euthanizing a legacy to kill a man. You knew, she pressed. Stepping closer. About the trials. The bribes. You signed the docs.
Zoe.
You're as guilty as me. Bullshit. Partial truth. Weaponized. I'd known fragments. Buried head in sand for family peace. Complicit? Maybe. But the swap? That was her abyss. Doesn't matter, I said. Anchors live. Sink or I force it. She lunged, not fight, but embrace.
Wait.
Please. Swap back first. Privately. Then. We confess together. Hesitation. Fatal flaw. As helmets clicked, her hand slipped to the console. Override flicker, her failsafe, hidden deeper. World blurred.
But not to me, to chaos.
Bodies held. Minds tangled. Two consciousnesses in one shell? Agony. Synapses firing like crossed wires. We collapsed, gasping in unison. Her voice from my lips. What have you done? Mine from hers. Us. Together. The twist reversed. The anchor hadn't freed. It fused. A hybrid horror, Zoe Victoria. Memories bleeding. Motives merging. We stumbled to the console. Midnight tolling on the lab clock. The hack launched anyway. Drone feed hijacking the ball drop. Times Square erupted below. Crowds chanting. Confetti whirl. Then,
Static.
our face, both faces, filled jumbotrons, a split-screen confession. Voices overlapping in eerie harmony.
I stole the patent, we said.
Framed my sister. Swapped to escape. Gasps rippled. Phones lighting the night like fireflies. The trials, souls broken for profit. Victoria's poise cracked through, but she knew. Signed the blood. My fire retorted, and I paid in skin. In silence. The world watched the unravel. Not one villain, but a dyad. Betrayal bidirectional. Secrets shared graves. Feds swarmed the brownstone minutes later. But we didn't run. Surrendered in tandem. A two-headed hydra of Harlanson. Trial was theater. Spring 2026. Federal Courthouse in Foley Square. Air thick with cable news humidity. Dad testified from hospice. Voice frail. My girls. Lost. Mom crumbled on the stand. Botox unfixing into real grief. The $52,000 bill? Exhibit A, symbol of petty cruelty amid empire's fall. Charges split. Fraud. Kidnapping. Human experimentation.
Plea? No.
We fought. Fused minds a legal unicorn. Psych evals debated. Dissociative?
Demonic?
Or just American, ambition's ugly twin. The controversial decisions echoed in closing. Was the swap justice or jailbait? Exposing the trials saved lives. Migrants repatriated. Tech banned. But at what cost? Our cost. Life sentences. Concurrent. In separate wings. Fusion faded over months. Minds untangling in solitary. But scars lingered. Ending? Debatable as dawn. Some say tragedy. Sisters destroyed by blood. Others, catharsis. Harlan's humbled. Secrets aired like dirty laundry on the White House line.
Me?
In my cell. Painting murals on cinderblock with smuggled charcoals. Abstract swirls of bodies entwined. Vengeful and redeemed. I feel it. Not peace, but purchase. They sent a bill. I sent back the empire's soul. And on quiet nights, when the fusion whispers, I wonder, who won?
Zoe.
The Avenger? Victoria? The survivor? Or the family? Fractured but free? Merry fucking Christmas.